Welcome back, my brave and beautiful humans, to another episode of Soul Hygiene. I have with me my new and wonderful friend, Mr. Kellan, and you are going to absolutely adore him like I do. We connected and had this wonderful conversation last time, just about life, about souls. But he is a published author who has written 19 books. I'm pretty sure I got that number right. And all of them are amazing. I just picked up his newest, or not his newest book, but the book that I think is going to help me the most, the story arc. It's going to help me with the podcast and future endeavors. So I'm pretty excited to start reading that. All his books are available on Amazon. But Mr. Kellen's here just to provide us, I think, with some insight and encouragement and inspiration today, and a little sneak peek into kind of who he is as a person. You can visit his website as yourultimatelife.ca. But he has this little box where you can reach out to him. And I like what he's put on there because it kind of delves into soul hygiene and everything that soul hygiene's about. He has this phrase that says, "How frustrating is that?" Now I'm just gonna read it real quick because I love what he put here. It says, "I've been in that quote unquote stuck place for years. Then I care to remember it's if that's how you feel, then I have something for you." And then he goes down into talking about freedom, prosperity, and joy. And by freedom, I mean living life on your own terms, free from fear and worry, and using your gifts to serve at the highest level. By prosperity, I mean using your skills and talents to create the cash and abundance you want. By joy, I mean the pure excitement of a life lived with purpose, full of helping others, and with each day overflowing with gratitude and joy. That vision is possible, the path is real, but it is not for everyone. And then he put down here, there are people so addicted to mediocrity, they'd rather live locked in a cage. And then he has a link here where you can go in and click it and get in contact with him. But I absolutely love that the first time that we had spoke, and that just popped out at me when I went to your website. It almost made me tear up because that is just what soul hygiene encompasses. You want your joy, your peace, your prosperity. You want to heal from that trauma, from that victimized mindset, and be a better person and just enjoy the rest of your life the way that you were meant to. So I'm super excited to have Mr. Kellan here today just to talk about himself, what he's done with his books, how he got to the place he is today. He also has a podcast, and so I'm excited to say I'm going to be a guest on his podcast on Thursday. It's my first guest spot, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm also really excited. So, welcome, Mr. Kellan. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. First thing I want to do is honor you for doing this. A podcast is a labor of love. It's a lot of work, and people will never know how much effort goes into doing it, finding guests, figuring out what you're going to talk about, and all the rest. So I just want to really honor you for putting in the effort and love that it takes to create the show.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you have your own podcast that I know you. How many episodes are you up to
We're
now?
just at 890 or
Oh
something. We're
my
coming
God.
up on 900 pretty quick.
Wow. Wow. Well, you're my 31st.
Excellent. I had
Awesome.
31 once, so everybody
Exactly.
goes through the numbers one at a time.
Exactly. I'll catch up one day.
You will?
Yes, but tell us a little bit about yourself and just about what you're up to these days, how inspired you were to start writing. Um,
So I want to tell the story about hygiene first because you use that word hygiene. And my
I love
son,
that.
one of my kids, was in the Marines, and he was. I went down to his boot camp graduation in Camp Pendleton in San Diego, and he was the top of the class, and so he got some award or whatever it was. It was really nice. But anyway, during the time he was in basic training, for some reason, the upper part of his legs, the thighs, were breaking out a lot. And so they were just red spots like pimples, only they weren't something, right? And his commander kept getting after him. don't you hygiene? And they use the word hygiene as a verb, which means do the stuff you're supposed, shower and do all the stuff.
Yeah.
Don't you hygiene? And he did. And of course he did. But if he hadn't, I mean, they thought he didn't. And that's what caused all this uh, things, these infections and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. And I want to compare that to soul hygiene, because if we don't hygiene, take care of, nurture, wash, clean out, bless, love, care for our souls, they do the same thing. We don't
Yeah.
see them as red pustules or things. We don't see them that way, but they're there. And their sadness and depression and brokenness and hiding and fear and embarrassment and not being willing to, shine and telling ourselves stories like not good enough. And so your soul hygiene uh, thought is so important, because your soul, yours, mine, and everybody listening to this, is of
Hmm.
infinite value and infinite worth.
Yeah.
You were created on purpose by the divine, whatever you call it. You were, and you know it. And like the best honor we can do is to take care of not only the bodies that we have, the containers, but our
Hmm.
souls. And we
Yes.
take care of those with nourishment of love and kindness and forgiveness and toward ourselves and others. And so when you said hygiene, I just thought about that story that he told me when we went to his boot camp graduation in San Diego many years ago. So, how did I get here? I'm not who you would think. 17 years ago, I made a radical shift in my life. Before that, I'm 68, I'll be 69 in this coming December. And up until I was 52, I chased the life you were supposed to chase. Went to school, went to college, got a job, got a degree, et cetera, et cetera. Now, my upbringing was marred by a lot of discipline that today would be felony child abuse, a lot of beatings and things. And so I came away believing that I was supposed to chase the supposed to's, and also at the same time believing I wasn't good enough, because otherwise, why all the stuff that happened? So I really believed that, and spent decades, 35 years. I left home at 17 until something happened when I was 52. So in that 35 years, I rode a roller coaster of creating success and then burning it down. So I created career success, and then I would do something stupid and get fired. I created relationships and ruined them. And that sounds like a self-destructive pattern. Oh, gee, it was. And it included addictions and attempted suicides and drugs and everything you can imagine. So on the outside, I had these repeated, very, very powerful positions, and behind the scenes, it was a disaster. It was embarrassing. It was a battleground. In August of 2007, when I was 52, something happened. I call it a divine intervention that caused me to reevaluate everything, and I literally walked away from the whole life that I had, started over. For the last 16 and a half years, be 17 this coming August, I have become a coach and an author and done all the stuff that you said, written all the books and podcasts, and I now have coaching clients around the world and everything. And it's really focused on one thing, and it's on the screen: the truth that each one of us has the ability to create a life that we love, a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And those are the
Hmm.
three words I use to describe the ultimate life. You might have different words. I ask people all the time, and they say things like freedom and okay, whatever. But you have it, you can have
Yeah.
it, and you
Yeah.
deserve it. And so I write all the books because I needed to. I write all the books because they represented the work that I did to go from the bottom of the canyon, destroyed, suicidal, and all the rest that I described in the worst possible way, to where I am now, to where I live every day in absolute joy. I love every minute of every day without exception, and that's no hype. And so, and the reason is soul hygiene. I'm going to use your words. I have
I
processes
love
and
it.
things that I talk about in all the books and everything. But at the bottom line is I take care of my heart and soul. I recognize that you and I were built to love and serve. And so that's all I do. And you know what? The rest takes care of itself. So that's a 30,000-foot overview, and I'm happy to tell any details that you want to know.
The one question I have, do you find now that when you're giving, like if you have a bad day or some insecurities come your way, I know for me, like when I'm giving, that heals me.
Mhm.
Do you find now, like on this part of your journey, that that is true?
It is, and it's not a fake thing. One of the things that happened to me is when I started on this journey, I heard people talking about, woo woo stuff,
Mhm.
spirituality, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, yeah, yeah, whatever. It's easy for you to say because I assumed wrongfully that, you figured all this crap out. And as I have now wondered, scrambled, stumbled, crawled over broken glass on this path now for these nearly 17 years, it's true. You and I were created by the divine to love and serve each other. We were given gifts and talents. Everybody has them, and you do, and I do. And when we use those to add good to the world, that's when we're happiest. Not when we're amassing coolness for myself and cars and money and houses and
Mm.
flashy this. That never gave me happiness. And I had it. I had it and had it and had it and hated me and everything about it. And we are the happiest when we love. And whenever fear comes up for you,
Yeah.
it's just because you've lost sight of your true being as a divine person. Because when you remember that you're a divine being with a mission, there is nothing to be afraid of. Even if stuff doesn't work like you want, that's got nothing to do with anything. You're still a divine being on a mission, even with the setbacks and the sideways dances and all the rest.
I really respect your encouragement because even on this journey that I'm on, I still have those days where I'm like, oh, I'm reliving some of that trauma and I'm really trying um hard to just, not have that fear anymore. And each day is a meditation day. And you're right. Like when that fear comes up, you lose track of your purpose, like your passion and your purpose. So
Mhm,
I like to use the words peaceful purpose
mhm,
because I know that since I started this intentional journey of healing, um, the peace I have is unmeasurable.
mhm.
And the joy I have. And when you use those words, it really hits me because, yeah, joy is everything. You could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have joy and you don't have peace, what good is it? And I think at the end of the day, whether people know it or not, that's what they're looking for.
There's no question. There's no
Yeah.
question. And you can say that stuff, and people say, yeah, but and then they default back to money and so forth. Well, everybody needs money to live. I'm not pretending you don't make money. I
Right.
charge money for my coaching, and so does everybody else, no matter what you sell, widgets or courses or books or anything. We need to do that. And here's the thing, that is the service that you offer. The problem is when I was in the religion of money, when I believed in money, when I worshiped money, when I measured my value or someone else's value by who had more of it than somebody else, as measured by their flamboyance or their possessions or their stuff, and that's as hollow as anything is. And you can
Right.
have money, and when you create money with service, then it's just a joyful toy, not toy, tool. It's a joyful
Right.
tool with which you can do more cool stuff. And so,
Right.
yes, I have all that I need and then some, and I have an overflowing plenty to give. And it comes from service, not from greed. And I learned that the hard
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. I always I tell the story when I was younger, like I grew up very poor, but my mom always said, "We are rich beyond measure because we have compassion and we have kindness and we have peace." And I didn't understand that until I got older, but my mom instilled those things in us. And I instilled those in my kids. And to watch my kids now flourish in their jobs by just being kind. just being compassionate, and they're getting raises and promotions when they don't even have the schooling, but it's because of who they are as a person on the inside. I truly believe that's what makes us rich. And you are right. Money, we need it to survive. And I know what it's like not to have it. When we were younger, it was, we didn't have money, and I was always taught, money is the root of all evil. But I have found as I've gotten older, it's the worship of money.
Yeah. The
It's
scripture
not
actually
money
says the
itself,
love of money is the
the
root of
love of
all evil.
money. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the
Yep.
deal when we do that. And I did that. I did it. I worshipped it. I needed to get more of it, and I turned into a mess. And when I quit doing that, and I got square with myself and transparent, another one of the reasons I wrote all the books, I wrote every one because I needed to, but I also wanted to be transparent. And what I mean by that is I lived my whole life struggling, hiding, lying and hiding as an addict and two-faced and everything. And so I lived in this constant fear of being found
Yes.
out, of sort of this low level, it's not even low level, sometimes mid level, sometimes right up to here, worry that my house of cards would come crumbling down. And eventually it did, not because I got arrested or turned in, although that was certainly possible a lot of times, but it was because of a divine intervention, an invitation to change, to wake up and change that I finally, at 52, said yes to. And so, you listening to this right now, I don't care. It's never too late. I don't care
Right.
where you are. I don't care what you've been through. What is behind you is behind you. And there's no question that it shapes you. And there's no question that it, creates where you are today. But where you go from here is
Mhm.
your choice. Yesterday does not dictate tomorrow. The future is not repetition of the past unless we allow it. And when people talk about personal development, it is simply that process of no longer allowing the past or
Right.
others' opinions to dictate your present and therefore your future. That is the essence of this personal development stuff. Taking control of your life and
Right.
recognizing who you really are.
That's so very true because the first two things I had to do in order to start healing were to take accountability, forgive, and just have that determination and perseverance to say, no, I'm not going to be held back by this trauma. And unfortunately, I think in the day and age we live in, there's not a lot of people that want to come out of that victimized mindset and out of their trauma because it gives them, I don't know, people pay attention to them. It gives them that attention that they need. I see that a whole lot, and that's kind of what soul hygiene needs to be in their life. And I'm hoping that through this process of soul hygiene, people will be able to see that. And I know we talked before the podcast. I'm not hoping, I know. I know that if someone listens to this and they truly want to heal, they will. I'm a walking
There's always
testament to that.
resources. Yeah, you are a
Exactly.
walking testament. So am I. There's always resources. That one of
Mhm.
the big things that changed when I had, decided to change my life at 52 was I just essentially, virtually, slammed my fist on the table and said, I'm done with this. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know where it goes. I
Mhm.
don't know what to do. I don't even know. What I do know is I'm done. I'm done
Yeah.
with that. That's all. And I call that addiction to mediocrity, settling for what's easy and obvious. And yeah, people love that because you do get attention. Oh, that poor person. Oh, they had so much
Yeah.
potential. They died young or they could all this other. And that's attention, but it's attention for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, you do have potential and you're free to develop it and use it and do something valuable and powerful, or you're free
Right.
to get married and stay married to all the reasons you can't.
Yeah. That's so true. That is so true. You have just a way of putting things in perspective and just straightforward and honest, and that's what I absolutely love about you.
Well,
So
thank you.
tell us
Go ahead.
so tell us a little bit about what's one of your favorite books that you've written? What's one
Well,
that's
people ask that a lot, and it depends on what you're trying to do. So you held up the story arc, and that's
Mhm,
a book I wrote after I had written 8 or 9 books because I realized I had created a really good system for nonfiction writers who want to create something with their life story, their experiences, who had a bunch of stuff happen to them and they've overcome in some respect, and they're like, I could help people. And then they say, I don't know where, I don't know how to start, all that stuff. So I wrote the story arc as a guide to help people realize how to do that. So that's what
mhm,
that book is for people want to write books or create courses. I have another book that I wrote that's a couple books old, not my last one, called Forgiveness, because I needed that. I struggled with a lot of abuse. I was a monster in terms of my addictions and ruining relationships and stuff. And by monster, I didn't have fangs, but I was a really lousy partner. And so I had a lot of, self recrimination. Oh, that self forgiveness was the most terrible thing. And
mhm,
by forgiveness, I want to be really clear about that because that's a loaded word. Some people hear forgiveness and they think, oh, let's pretend it didn't happen. That's not what
mhm.
I'm saying. They're
Right.
also saying, oh, well, yeah, you forgive yourself, but, you know, you didn't fix whatever. Most of the really serious stuff you cannot fix. If you steal something, you can give it back. You still don't repair trust. That takes however long it takes to build back. So you do, I do, we do have to do what we can to fix things. And then you must let it go. Because holding on, whether you're angry at yourself, hating yourself, self loathing was my favorite phrase. If that's you, like it was me, the only thing you're doing is denying the rest of us your greatness, your learning, your light. You've got a permanent blanket over your light, and only you can take it off. So when you've done what you can, let it go and shine the light that you have from what you have learned. That's self forgiveness. Forgiving others, a lot of times we think, well, they don't deserve it. It's got nothing to do with deserving it.
No.
You forgive so you're not carrying the hate, anger, bitterness, and frustration. And that's true even if you still have leftovers. For example, I have a dog. I'll tell the dog story. I didn't grow up with animals, so I didn't get a dog until I was right after that 52 incident. So in 2007, I didn't know how to take care of a dog. On New Year's Eve, 2007 to 8, I was playing around. The puppy was young, and I was a little too rough, and so the pup bumped into a speaker stand, and the speaker fell off and fell on the paw, and it broke all the metatarsals. And so the dog was howling in pain, and it was midnight on New Year's Eve. So I'm driving around the city trying to find an emergency vet clinic. And we did finally in the middle of the night, and they did what they could. They operated and fixed what they could, but they told me, very possible the dog will have a limp later when it gets cold or whatever. Sure enough, as the years went by, the dog developed a limp. So my carelessness gave the dog a limp forever. The dog wasn't having any of it. He lived his life full on and limped. Okay. So, and I give that example, and I felt guilty for a long time, but the dog just wasn't having any of it. Right. And so that's what I mean. Even if things that happened to you left you with scars, you're limp. You can choose to be like the dog and do everything you can do anyway and live your life fully, or you can choose to do what we humans often do, which is stay angry and frustrated. The only one that suffers is you. People say holding a grudge is like drinking poison and waiting for somebody else to die. It's a good example, same thing. And I love the dog. He's gone now. He died in 2017. But the lesson that I got from that dog was that. He just wasn't having any of it, any of this guilt and other crap. He's just a dog, and he's going to be all in being a dog. And I thought, what a lesson, what a precious lesson. And when he passed, we took him and had him cremated, and they gave us a little box and everything. Said, "What do you want inscribed on there?" And what came to me in the moment by inspiration, his name was Aiden, Aden, and I wrote on there, "Aiden, the gentle soul who saved me."
Mm.
Okay, and I weep now and I wept then, and it just came to me to write there. But that's true. Each of you have so much good and power and potential. And living locked up behind your own guilt or frustration at someone else, or being afraid of this or settling for mediocrity, oh, you need the soul hygiene. You're worth it. Love yourself, love others. Go be that light.
That is a great way to end. I'm gonna thank everyone for joining us for another episode because that is you got me tearing up. That is just an amazing way to end the show. Is just go be light, you know. Um I believe that God gives us all the talents and tools available to survive this life and to live it and to thrive in it and be great. He made us for greatness. He doesn't want us to go through this trauma and go through all of the things that we go through. But I love that you encourage and you inspire because that's what people need. They need to know that they can be great and they can let go of this victimized mindset and things that were done to them and the trauma. They can let go. There is hope for their lives. And I absolutely love that. So I appreciate everyone joining us for this episode. It was amazing. Please visit Mr. Kellan's website at yourultimatelife.ca. Reach out to him if you have questions or you need someone to just inspire you and encourage you, because he will definitely do that. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.